Good evening, good folks, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission General Session for this Tuesday, August 13th, 2024. I just want to share, we do have various different public comment periods tonight. There's one towards the beginning of the meeting on any agenda items. We'll also have several public hearings later in the evening, and you'll have an opportunity to give public comment during those public hearings. And then we'll also have a general public comment period at the end of the meeting. In any of the public comment periods, people have up to 3 minutes to share their remarks. I do encourage you, if you're in person, to fill out the public comment form at the back of the room. Please provide your name and home address. Note I will not be sharing your home address nor asking you to announce your home address. That is for our records. We will also be allowing phone-in comments by phone, so keep an eye on the bottom of your screen when we get to the public comment periods. There will be a phone number scrolling across the screen. I'll share that phone number now so you are ready. That's 231-724-6721. Don't call right this moment, though. We'll be getting to public comment shortly. Before we get into our business, we're going to be led in prayer by Pastor Russell Dam from Oak Crest Church of God. Following prayer, we're going to have Pledge Allegiance. If you wish to join us in either of those activities, I ask you to stand if you're so able to do so.
Well, hello again. It's always a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to know that our city believes in prayer. So that's a beautiful thing. Sounds like you have a busy schedule. So I promise I won't pray over 20 minutes. No, just kidding. With all the topics that you guys have coming up here and all the things that are going on in our world today even, we definitely need knowledge. And I know everyone here is doing the best they can to have knowledge in the best ways that they can. But I think the most important thing is not the knowledge, but the wisdom to know how to apply that knowledge. So with that, I'd like to just open in prayer. Father, I thank you. I give you glory and honor. You are always in the center of everything. Whether we experience or feel you or not, you're always there. And I just thank you for your presence. We give you honor in allowing us to have wisdom. And I just pray right now for not only knowledge in all the topics that they will be dealing with, but Lord, bless them with wisdom. Wisdom in how to apply what they are hearing and what they have learned. We give you glory and honor in that, Father. I can't honor you enough because we just don't do enough of that. But Father, touch each one of their hearts, open their minds, help them to have peace and understanding. And we just give you all the glory and the praise in Jesus' name. Amen and amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor.
Welcome.
May we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Keener?
Here.
Commissioner German?
Here.
Commissioner Gorman?
Here.
Commissioner Cochin? Absent. Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Here.
Mayor Johnson? Commissioner Kilgo?
Here.
Thank you. We got a public comment form that was just arrived?
I passed it down.
Yeah, I think it just passed.
Oh, no, there's another one.
Oh, was there?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. First up, first comment form I received was from Scott Dreyer, joining us from Terra Contractors, located in the city of Muskegon. Welcome, sir. You have up to 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Very much. I'm Scott Dreyer. I'm with Terra Contractors. We have recently bid on a local road project for Southern Avenue. We were close. We were a bit high. So being we're a bit high, I still would like to at least have a discussion of the project being awarded to us. We are the only local to the city limits road and MDOT certified contractor. Being that is what it is, it would just be, I'd appreciate your guys taking some time, just going through the bids, and if at all possible, we would love to do the work.
Thank you, Mr. Dreyer. Next up, we have Jamie Cross joining us from the NIMS neighborhood. Welcome. You have 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
Good evening, and you do have a busy agenda, and I'm sorry I won't be staying for it. I'll watch from home. Anyway, I'm here to talk about 2 of the developments. The first one is the docks. I know I haven't spoke about the docks before. I actually, when I was pregnant with my daughter, who's now 32, I used to walk back there. I lived in Bluffton. There was no harbor town. It was beautiful. I understand it was mine, but nature has a way of reclaiming itself. And if I would have preferred to see it remain as a park like Otto Sands, I think it would have given us much more than it is as a development. But today I'm here to talk about the lake also, and native plantings. I know this has been a conversation with the docks. Dune ecosystems are very special and fragile, and they have some wonderful plants that are very adapted to them. And I do hope that that becomes a requirement for this property. I want you to think about the algae blooms for the last month or more. We're not done with them. We feed them. That's what happens. There's other reasons why they're happening, but we feed them. And if anything could kill a tourism industry, it could be algae blooms. Water intake pipes shut in Toledo in 2014. They couldn't drink their water for a month or for a week. So thinking about the native plants, dune plants don't need fertilizer, they don't need water. They're better for the homeowner in that way, and they're also better for the lake. And I would say that about stormwater too. We are creating so much stormwater through all these developments. I think we really have to figure out how we're going to filter it and mitigate the problem that we're creating to our lake, because it is important. That all that money we spent, it doesn't go away. Let's keep the lake healthy. The other thing I want to mention is just quickly the Shaw Walker project. This is more about the parking lot on Western and Division. I actually live behind that area, and I commute there with my bike. And since the Boys and Girls Club is open, and with Adelaide Point starting to get up to speed, traffic is there. It's hard to get across Lakeshore from Division. On a Friday, I was coming from work and watching kids trying to cross from Boys and Girls Club, 5 or 6 cars coming out of the Neal Fitness Center. And that parking lot is just going to compound it as close as it is to that corner. And I'm talking about the one that's right on the corner of Division and Western. I hope it can be reduced in size, some green space, something else, because I think it's going to really create some issues. There's already issues that need to be addressed on that corner. And we're not even full speed with Adelaide Point. So I just want you to consider that as you move forward. I'm not as concerned about the other one on the other crossroad, but it doesn't have the intersection that this one does. So I hope you consider that as you're looking at that development. And there is no bike paths on Division. That makes it even harder. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Good
Cross.
luck tonight.
Appreciate you joining us this evening. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to give public comment at this time? All right, we're going to go to the phones. Up number is 231-724-6721. When you're calling in, please turn down any audio in the background. Introduce yourself by name, and then if you're a city resident, which neighborhood you're calling from. If you're not a city resident, which other township, village, or city you may be calling from. And then just identify the agenda item you're talking about. This is only for agenda items right this moment. There'll be a general public comment at the end of the meeting. All right, no takers for phone-in comments. All right, commissioners, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. We got a pretty packed consent agenda all the way to letter U. If there's an item on this consent agenda that you just wish to share a remark, like you just want to make a comment on it, rather than get into debate or question or whatnot, you simply want to make a remark about the item. Let's keep it on the consent agenda, and we'll accept remarks during discussion on the consent agenda adoption. Otherwise, are there any items that you wish to have removed for separate discussion and deliberation and vote? Commissioner Kilgo.
Item M is in Mary. And then I do want to make a comment on item F.
Okay. Commissioner German.
Oh, yes, item J and K.
Okay. Are there any other items, commissioners? No. All right. So then I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented, minus items J, K, and M.
So moved.
Support.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. Before we go to vote, we'll entertain the comment from Commissioner Kilgo with regard to item F, sale of 1510 Gyrock.
Yes, thank you. 1510 Gyrock is one of our infill housing homes. I don't have any problem with the purchase. The small and the medium-sized homes seem to be selling well, getting low to moderate income families in them, so that's great for the city. These come with a addendum that these buyers have to sign that says each dwelling unit shall have the approved established vegetation ground cover native to the immediate area within 600 feet, no less than 12 months after occupancy. Approval shall be given by the zoning staff of the planning department as part of an initial residential site plan review. A minimum of one shade tree and 2.5 inches in diameter, 4 feet from the ground, or 1 6-inch evergreen tree shall be provided. Existing landscaping may be accepted in lieu of this requirement. Buyer shall be responsible for watering and maintaining vegetation. Part of the reason that we are doing the infill project, yes, is to provide low to moderate income housing for people, but another reason is to beautify our neighborhoods. And a lot of these these homes are being sold with no landscaping at all, and their yards full of weeds. And for instance, I have pictures of this particular house a few weeks ago that had 3 or 4 feet weeds just covering the whole yard. So next spring, when they start to grow again, it's just going to again be a yard of weeds. If we're selling these homes to low income families, they're not necessarily going to be able to afford all fresh landscaping and stuff like that. So it's something that I would love for staff and then the commission to think about if there's a way that we can do some landscaping with these homes, just so that they actually are beautifying the neighborhoods and they're not, oh yeah, there's a new house there and it's surrounded by a yard full of weeds. So that's all I have on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. So city manager and our development services division are hearing the commentary remarks, and you'll follow up appropriately with Commissioner Kilgo, and as well as give consideration to what changes to enforcement or policy may be necessary, and we'll revisit as a commission in the future if need be. So thank you, Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to, again, I'm just going to restate the motion. So the motion is to adopt the consent agenda minus items J, K, and M. All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. First item, J, request for a plan unit development, PUD, at 920 Washington Avenue, 965 West Western Avenue, and 1330 Division Street, second reading. Commissioner German.
Yes, I move to approve the request for the PUD at 920 Washington, 965 West Western, and 1330 Division with the following conditions. Is that necessary to read those, or okay? The applicant receives a stormwater permit from the engineering department. Bicycle racks are added. Warning signs warning signage will be required for the two mid-block crossing on Division Street. All utilities plans must be approved by the engineering department.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner German, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. Welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Mike Franzak, the planning director.
All right. Commissioner German.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Director Franzik. If you could just enlighten the public and myself and others about this PUD and what all it entails.
Sure. So this is going to be the rehab of the old Shaw Walker facility. It's going to entail a little over 550 residential units and about 24,000 square foot of retail. And there's also going to be 37 new townhomes built on the western edge of the property.
Okay. And if I read correctly, there's been a request for like some NEZ certificates also, right? And that was for what, 15 years?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I believe it's on the agenda tonight.
Yeah,
Then our public hearing.
Yeah.
yeah. And I guess is it appropriate now to ask why the developer is acting for 15 years?
That will be us. That'll be
Okay, that's what's
This
okay.
the only motion, the only question on the table right now is with
Yeah,
regard to
okay.
adopting the plan unit development.
Yeah. So, okay. That's all I have.
All right. Unless there's any other, I know we already voted and read this one time, so most of us commissioners had already had our questions and commentary. But if there's, I will ask Commissioner Keener if you have anything to ask or add on this item before we go to vote.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item.
Madam Clerk, additional commissioners
Oh.
appeared.
Commissioner.
Oh, hi.
Cochin has arrived.
Commissioner Cochin.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, next item, K, request to amend the planning and development PUD at 3400, 3460, 3474 Wilcox Avenue, 1875 Waterworks Road, and 1490 Edgewater Street, commonly known as the Sand Docks. This is a second reading. Commissioner German.
All right, thanks again, Mayor. Move to approve the request to amend the PUD with the following conditions. The applicant receive a stormwater permit from the engineering department. All utilities planned and reviewed and approved by the engineering department. Lane width of the streets are reduced to 9 or 10 feet, subject to the engineering department. Landscaping areas inside the parking area of the streets will be privately maintained. A public-private street map will be provided and described. The ownership is discussed with all.
Commissioner German, just a second, because the same errant word is in here. It's with all privately owned roadways being publicly accessible, not publicly owned roadways being publicly accessible.
you
So I
see
just want to
that?
clarify before you finish that sentence.
Okay, where was that?
Item 5, you were just about to.
Oh,
announce it.
okay.
That's why I was like, let me.
It's not on the agenda though, but you said
It's all privately. That's what we approved last meeting.
Yeah, it should be all
with all
privately.
privately owned roadways being publicly accessible.
private, public, privately.
This should be
Streets.
private.
Okay, this should be private. Okay. Okay, let me go back. Okay.
About that.
Okay.
I had to
All
clarify
public
the
private
last-
street maps will be provided and describe the ownership as discussed with all private owned roadways being publicly accessible. Okay. All landscaping plans is approved by the planning department.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner German, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. Welcome back. Or you didn't go anywhere. Commissioner German.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think I was gone that day. I had to leave early. So if you can just kind of brief me up about this PUD and the plans.
Sure. So the developer had to tweak the plans a little bit because of Eagle's determination of established wetlands. So there's certain areas they can't build in, so they had to tweak the development a little bit. They got rid of about 40 single-family homes, and they're making that up with apartment condos, anywhere between, I think, 8 and 20 residential units in these larger buildings, and there will still be a retail component, marina, and one of the good things about this amendment is that it's bringing the people even closer to the water. We do have a requirement in our residential PUDs that at least 50% of the waterway is publicly accessible. The last plans were at about 51%, and these go all the way up to about 80-85% accessibility.
And that was my next question. Thank you, Director Franzik. Appreciate that clarification. What type of feedback have we gotten from the community out there?
Fairly
Input,
minimal for the size of development. I mean, it was so large and so many public comments when we approved it in 2019. We held the public hearing at the high school, but the developer has done a great job of working with the community and the neighborhood to meet some of their needs. So they kind of shifted some things over, moved some buildings around on some comments. There were a couple comments at the public hearing for the Planning Commission, but overall it was positive remarks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. I know you don't have the map up. I'm not sure if one of the several maps of the development can be pulled up. But talking to some constituents in the city, although we had already approved it, we didn't approve it with a full commission. That's why it's back in front of us. And I think it's good that it's back in front of us. North of Public Road E in this development, there's 0 public parking anywhere in the development. I personally, there's let's just say over 25, over 30 housing units north of Public Road E. There should be some on-street parking somewhere. Not everyone is going to be able to have if they have their car in their driveway, and they have guests, or they have 2 cars and their driveway is full. There's literally 0 on-street parking. Public Road E is that long one just above the channel, the waterway, I guess. Yeah, am I correct in that, Director?
That is correct. I believe we discussed it a little bit at the last meeting.
Yeah.
There were some concerns about people being able to park near the beach.
Yeah, and I personally am not as concerned about the beach because it's not. There's some sand down there by the water. It's not really a beach. It's waterfront. But whether it's near that waterfront or, I don't know if the developers are here, but I think they said there's like 9 units in that condo building up top. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, plus those other condo buildings. So there's probably over 50 units or housing units north of that road. There should be some public parking somewhere in that development. If you have 50 homes, somebody's going to have company or going to need someone to come and park for an hour to sit and have tea with them or something. I don't know. I just think that we should have some public parking north of Public Road E.
I think there are some challenges. I believe the topography is pretty steep, going east-west north of Road E. I think we talked about adding parking to the north side of the street there, but the topography would not allow that. As far as Road E, there's going to be quite a few curb cuts there with the Actually, those have alleys, so maybe that's not as much of an issue.
Yeah, you can see there's a structural retaining wall where the topography is steeper. That's at the bend. There's a structural retaining wall, and it's less of an issue as you go west of there. But if there's follow up right now, Commissioner Kogo, I'm going to go to Commissioner Keener. If you have,
I guess my last thing is, if there is a way for us to, there's a motion on the floor, but if there's a way for us to amend the motion to say if it is feasible with the topography for us to add 4 parking spots, or 5, something, I would like us to look at maybe amending the motion.
okay. Thank you, Commissioner Kogo. We will entertain potential amendments to the motion. I want to go to Commissioner Keener to get any questions or comments or thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in agreement too with Jay. Not only just if a random person was coming for a cup of tea. As a citizen in Muskegon, I have right to be able to park and access, and it's a bit unfair to not be able to have that amenity there. And so I would also like for you all to, or the developer, or we make an amendment, but that parking is very necessary.
All right. So, and this came up at the last meeting. We did have some discussion around the parking situation and the desire. Some of us had a desire for parking there, of which I had also advocated that it'd be nice to have some public parking spots available for people to enjoy that elevated boardwalk that goes through the wetland areas and or the beach, the public beach area. That when we're talking about public access, general public access, it's important that we have multimodal access. And so by foot, by bike, by vehicle as well. So I'm just wondering if, I'm asking for legal counsel's input, if this would be an appropriate worded motion to incorporate parking, if we were to amend the PUD to add an additional condition that off-street parking, inclusive of handicap parking, be placed to the west of the structural retaining wall at the road's final bend, northern bend. Would that be, want me to read that again to you? Would it, to amend the PUD to add an additional condition that off-street parking, comma, inclusive of handicap parking, comma, be placed to the west of the structural retaining wall at the road's final bend northerly, because that's pointing north this way. So final bend northerly, would that be the bend then?
Yes.
The structural at the road's final bend. Okay, that would be an appropriate.
That would be appropriate as an amendment.
Okay, so I would, sounds like there's support for this from what we're hearing, so I'm going to ask, I will welcome a motion to amend the PUD to add an additional condition that off-street parking, inclusive of handicap parking, be placed to the west of the structural retaining wall at the road's final bend northerly. Final northern bend.
Northernly bend.
Northernly bend, final northernly bend.
Point of information.
Yes.
Does Commissioner German have to?
This is a amendment to the PUD, or this is an amendment to the motion.
So
Okay.
if
So this-
seconded, we would vote on the amendment first, then the underlying motion.
Thank you.
It could be a friendly amendment if you wanted to do that, but otherwise we're doing an amendment to the motion.
Thank you.
Yes. So if anyone supports that motion,
Can I get
I can support that.
all right. So then I got Commissioner German is making that motion, and Commissioner Kilgo is supporting it. Okay. Then I'm going to open up discussion around this amendment.
Yes, I'd like a point of information on that, because I'm having a hard time visualizing that, so could I take a look at what you're pointing to?
This is the bend right
Right.
here, and that's the structural retaining wall, and so the parking would be west of there.
So you want it anywhere west of that structural retaining wall?
Yeah.
West
That's
is
the
up
amendment.
on that map.
Oh,
Or west is down.
sorry. I need to be clarifying because I said west.
Oh, sorry. North of.
North of the. Yeah, this map is not oriented towards the north. to be placed to the north of the structural retaining wall at the road's final northerly bend. We need that specificity.
We're talking about here in that wetland area.
So yeah, right here. That would have access to the boardwalk through the wetland area, or
Right here.
because this alleyway doesn't have a name for it. Otherwise, we could say west of that alleyway, but there's no name to that alleyway. You could connect it to Brighton Avenue, but I don't know if we want to reference roadways that aren't in the PUD in the amendment. So that would require a friendly amendment to your amendment because we just changed the language placed to the north of the structural retaining wall at the road's final northerly bend. And so you accept that change from
that change.
west to north.
West,
You accept
yeah.
that change, Commissioner Kilgo?
Support, yes.
West to north. Okay.
I'm gonna do something really quick here.
And put that on the screen and point out.
Can you
Oh.
zoom into this section here? And so, obviously the folks at home can't see me, but for the folks in the audience, Public Road E is right here, and there's the structural retaining wall notation just above there. To the left, or to the north, is the section that they're talking about. And now
You could
oh yeah, you could probably
move her cursor around that section.
Yeah.
So
So,
people
this
could see.
section right here is what we're discussing, adding that requirement.
Okay. I just understood what the motion to amend is. All right.
I do have
Now,
a question.
Commissioner Gorman.
Is this the most appropriate mechanism to make this change right now? And that I'm concerned that we're making a decision, to me, on the fly right now. If there are other conversations about this, I wish I would have been a part of them. I wish I would have been able to have dialogue with the developer about this. And I don't want us to rush into this to find out we have to undo it. And considering this is the second reading on technicality. So, is there, if we vote to not pass the amendment but could still pass the PUD, is there an opportunity to still get to this conclusion after a little more thought?
So when we left the conversation, thank you for your question and your concern. When we left the conversation a couple weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, we thought that we would just leave it to DPW putting on-street parking in there separate from the PUD because we thought, well, we have the right-of-way. We can put the parking in there under right-of-way. We don't need to put it in this PUD. Subsequently, in my conversations, it was thought that it's best to put in the PUD as a condition. So it's known and clear that this is the expectation as we move forward with the addition of the on-street parking there.
Conversations with the developer, conversations with staff.
I've had conversations with the city manager about this. The city manager has informed the developer that this was going to be coming, would likely be coming to a head for additional discussion, particularly given that two commissioners were not in the previous conversation around this, and that there was still desire for resolving the parking issue and not just leaving it to DPW to handle it separately and on its own. I don't know if Mr. Manager wants to.
That was just going to be that. I did email the developer this morning and noted that I was
This
anticipating.
morning, though, hours before we're going to vote on this.
And
Give him
Yeah.
his earlier in the
Respectfully.
week. Yesterday.
well, we were emailing yesterday, and then this morning we had our final email exchange.
Okay, knowing the intensity of this meeting, I'm disappointed to hear about this, that I'm just hearing about this now, and I cannot support this amendment.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorman. Any further discussion on the amendment to the PUD? Vice Mayor St. Clair.
I have to ask Commissioner Gorman. I'm really uncomfortable with making this kind of change right now. I know that there is impact on a lot of things every time we move something an inch. I know that the developer has spent a lot of time trying to make this work, and I also know that it's a protected wetland area, and what is the impact of us arbitrarily choosing 6 parking spots for this particular strip? I also want to clarify, there is public parking within this development, yes?
Yeah, blocks away from
Okay,
the several
just
blocks away
not
from the area.
right here in this one space. It, trying to remember, I've been to Harbortown quite a few times. There's no on-street parking in Harbortown either, is there? You have to go park someplace else if you cannot park in a driveway. There are little cutouts and small parking areas for you to go. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Mhm. Yep. One of the parking area is near the emergency access point that's in this current PUD. It's just to the north of there. There's a parking area in the Harbor Town.
Okay.
Mr. Manager?
Just for clarity, sake of transparency, I should say, the developer also had emailed me noting that on Public Row F, which is just on the bottom right of the screen here, where it kind of comes to a hammerhead, there is a bump out of parking there, and that is adjacent to the that trail area, which is on this map. It's the sidewalks that you can see, or the walkways, I guess I should say, that you can see going through the nature area. And it was noted that from that point through the development, it is ADA accessible area adjacent to a parking area. So this was during the email conversations back and forth. So in the interest of transparency, the developer did point that out to me as well, noting that was there, and that would be a walk to get to the beach, but that would be a way to get there as well. But there is some parking in that area.
That would be, let's see, trying to figure how many feet away from that is.
Oh.
It's up.
So you
Well
could
over
take
500
that.
feet.
There is the road, the sidewalk that goes east-west from Public Road F to E, and then sidewalk along E.
Yeah.
You could go that way. So
So-
there is that access point as well from a parking.
So, just to clarify too, with regard to the concern about wetlands, there's not wetlands in the area that we're talking about with regard to the parking situation. The parking situation is able to provide access to those natural resources because this PUD calls for and the state is requiring the protection of these sensitive intradunal coastal wetlands, and they're looking to add a elevated boardwalk that allows the public to enjoy it. But by virtue of not providing the sufficient multimodal access there, it's curtailing who can actually enjoy it. And so by putting it there on the north side where you could access the wetlands and or the public waterfront there, which we've all talked about the importance of waterfront access. We know our community's interest in the importance of waterfront access. But I think Commissioner Keener, Commissioner Cochin, did I see your hand up?
Yes, yeah. Some of my questions were answered by City Manager Seifert. I wanted to state that one of my big concerns is having handicap access specifically to that boardwalk there. I know that we've discussed that at the previous meeting as something that I thought was important, but just in case any of the other commissioners or anybody watching didn't realize that was something that was said, I wanted to make sure that was noted. That is one of my concerns, is making sure that they do have that accessibility. And I hear Commissioner Kilgo's thoughts and ideas about having spaces for people who are visiting in that northern region there, because you will have extra people. But I also hear what Vice Mayor Sinclair is saying in regards to the area and not adding more undue stress to it. It's I hear that it's going to add a lot of housing to our area, but if it was up to me, I would love to see this just stay as is. So yeah, that's kind of where I was at with that. And then the other concern I had was in regards to the the roadway in and out of the development, that was brought up previously. Something that is still
So that will
heavy
be
on my mind.
Okay, if you have
Or is that
additional
later?
comment on that, you can hold that.
Okay.
Because right now we're just talking about the amendment for the parking situation.
10-4, sorry.
So if there's any additional questions or thoughts with regard to the amendment pertaining to the parking? Commissioner German?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One thing that I've always looked at when we talk about these developments is the public access and having that accessible for the residents, citizens. I don't see anything wrong with adding additional parking. And to Commissioner Kilgore's concerns, I think that's thoughtful because people are going to be attracted to this new development. They may come out there and just to ride, but have a place to park or just view the scene. And so I'm okay with approving this. And then we've done this before, had conversations in the middle of a discussion when we talked about things, and sometimes I didn't agree and some of the other commissioners did. So, I mean, now's the time to have the discussion, and I respect everyone's decision and thoughts, but I don't have an issue with it.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Commissioner Keener, do you have anything to add or ask at this time? All right, we're gonna go.
I have a question.
Yep.
Do we have a specific number of parking spots this amendment is going to add? Like this has already gone through engineering, environmental. We're not concerned about anything there.
Oh, there's still things that need to go through engineering. The elements that are conditions that we've already added that are requiring things to be submitted to engineering for approval. So this would also have to go through engineering and planning department.
Okay, I just disagree with the mechanism that we're approaching this with. I think it sends a terrible message to this developer, future developers, and I think it's a deep mischaracterization of the members of this commission to say, to illustrate that we are not in favor of making this accessible to our residents, making mobility accessibility a priority. That is not at all what's happening. I just really much disagree with the way we're going about this. Conversations that if this was such a slam dunk, I feel like all 7 of us would be on board because of previous dialogue. So I'm very, again, disappointed that it's very clear some of us were not made aware of this move tonight of an amendment that has been wordsmithed, and I'm just very
Wrote it right
concerned.
now.
Okay.
And asked him to verify. Literally wrote it right now. So I will clarify that at the end of the meeting, we left it with the expectation, both yourself and Vice Mayor St. Clair indicated a neutrality with regard to the question of adding or not adding parking. We left it with the expectation that staff would be putting parking there, on-street parking. That was the expectation that we left with. It was subsequent conversations like it's better practice for that to be included in the PUD. I've also had conversations, and this is going to be coming to a future Legislative Policy Committee meeting, that looking at policy where there is public access to natural resources, that staff understands there's an expectation of multimodal access. So they can have those conversations and build that in to the development at the upfront. So we're not here having these conversations because it's already baked into it. That would be the preferable way, and I agree with you, that'd be the preferable way to do it versus trying to do that here. But this is an oversight, and we still have it within our power and purview to correct that oversight, in my opinion. Did I see Vice Mayor St. Clair?
I agree with Commissioner Gorman. I don't like how this feels. I don't like the optics. I don't like not knowing that this has been properly vetted. We have a planning commission for a purpose. I feel like we are totally skirting around a lot of regulatory situations. What happens if this amendment gets passed and it is discovered that no, you actually can't do that? Where does that leave this project if none of us who are engineers or planners make this decision today to make this change, and it comes out that you actually can't do that? Where does this leave this PUD?
So I'll two things to respond to that. One of which does not necessitate going to the planning commission. We're not skirting any regulatory oversight. The planning commission on this is a advisory body. It's making a recommendation to the city commission. We, when it comes to us, have the purview and power to deviate from that recommendation. And then with regard to what happens if this does come back, it's like, oh, there's absolutely no way we can put any parking here. Then you wouldn't be able to put parking there, and if necessary, it could come to the planning commission for a minor adjustment that the planning commission would simply say, okay, yeah, we're taking out this parking or removing that condition. So it would not be, it would require coming back to the city commission. It could be handled as an administrative, actually it might even just be an administrative thing at that point that wouldn't even require, it'd be minor.
I wouldn't have the purview to do that, but I do believe we'd be able to go to planning
Yeah.
if they felt that was minor.
It'd probably be considered minor adjustment. Now, Commissioner Gorman mentioned number of spots. The language in the motion does not reference a number of spots. If the commission wishes to have an exact number, I think it's important that there is that flexibility because of some of the concerns that Vice Mayor St. Clair just indicated, so that staff and engineering can work that out rather than us saying you must have X number of parking spots there. I think as a matter of principle, it's important. We talk about public access to natural resources, that there is reasonable multimodal access to those natural resources. So, unless there's any further discussion, we're going to vote on the amendment.
I have one more question.
Vice Mayor St. Clair.
I understand that you state that this is not part of the wetland. Has Eagle given us reason to believe that they will allow this change, or are we just making an assumption that that will be okay? Has there been communication with Eagle about this is my question.
I have not conferred with Eagle on it.
I have not, and I'm just looking at something on the map again. The orange area is noted as regulated impacted wetlands. Now, obviously, there's space between the structural wall and that, and there's a structure over some of that. So that area is already being impacted. The orange hashed areas are impacted wetlands.
And that's what they're replacing.
So I don't know what that means. That just occurred to me as you were asking that question.
So in that case, to further add clarity or context to that, they are, as part of this overall development, there are impacted regulated wetlands that are being removed as part of the development. There's 2 acres being removed. That's the area that portion of the area you're seeing, and that Eagle is requiring them to replace it. It's about 7 acres elsewhere within the watershed. So Eagle has signed off on that situation there with the impacted regulated wetlands. According to the developer, Eagle has that, yeah.
But not the proposed change.
There's no additional wetlands there. But anyhow, no. So any other final questions or thoughts before we go to a roll call on the amendment to the PUD, and then we'll have a vote on the PUD itself, whether it's amended or not. Yes, and I think you have a question when we get to the PUD as well, or comment. But
yes, in regards
Commissioner Cochin.
to this, point of clarification, if you guys could point it out to me. So this road that comes off here.
That's an alleyway.
That's an alleyway.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would that be a possibility?
That's a private alleyway.
Okay. So that wouldn't be an option. Because I really don't like this, and I think I've been fairly vocal about that. I would really rather see it further down here somewhere, like south, east, whatever that direction is, of that retaining wall. If we were to do that, because Vice Mayor Sinclair brings up a good point. If they are working in that area, then they have to go back to Eagle and increase what they're doing other places for the wetlands that they're impacting. So it's just something to be mindful of, which is why I'd be more in support of it if it was whatever direction it looks like it's south on the map of the structural retaining wall.
West.
West,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, left and north would be west. So, yeah. I understand those concerns. I think the way the motion is worded does provide flexibility there with that. But I think Mr. Manager has something to share, and then Commissioner Kilgo.
So just from a process standpoint, I want to make sure that we're clear about something regarding if this friendly amendment, if an additional condition is added. So that's one vote. The next vote would be to approve the PUD or not on second reading. If an additional condition is added and it's not passed unanimously, it would come back for a third reading at that point in time. So I just want to make sure
The PUD itself,
not
the amendment.
Yeah, the PUD itself. So I just want to make sure that I'm putting that out there for everyone to know.
In the
So,
point of clarification.
yeah.
So, and if that happens, then would we have to make another amendment if that was the commission's purview?
Not at that point. If the amendment were to be adopted, the PUD would carry forward with that additional condition, as well as the pre-existing conditions. The commission would then vote on the amended PUD and all its conditions, and if it's adopted unanimously at that point, we've already handled the amendment. That's out of the way. It's the PUD itself. The PUD is adopted unanimously at that point. It's just done and moves forward. If it does not get adopted unanimously, then it would require a subsequent read.
Okay.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yeah. I've lived in Muskegon for over 18 years, and my job takes me around the city every day. People are going to park where they park, whether it's legal or illegal. And I just think that having some set parking in this area of the development would be good, because then people can see there's designated parking in those areas. People aren't going to have their curbs pulled up on, nobody's parking on the terrace, nobody's pulling on someone's lawn. There would be dedicated parking. As the crow flies, you're about 1,000 feet from the closest parking area down on Public Road F. But a person wouldn't be able to walk as the crow flies, because you'd be walking through a building and people's yards and everything else. So you'd have to take the roads, and if you had to walk and take the roads, you're quite a ways away from there with the closest parking. So I just believe we should come up with a way to have parking in that area of the development. Everywhere, all the other areas of the development have parking that's close enough to walk to, except for that area of the development.
Thank you, Commissioner Kilgo. All right, so
I want to add one more thing before we go to vote on this. So I've been trying to get some clarification from some staff on some different things. One note, if it's not marked no parking in that area, in theory you could park on the side of the road anyway. Per the staff's request, the developer has narrowed the width of the road for a variety of reasons. One, long-term maintenance costs, reducing speeds, things of that nature. Parking on the side of the road also is a traffic calming function. If we chose to sign that no parking, then there would be no parking in that area, and we could enforce it. Based on the width, we probably wouldn't want parking on the side of the road, because I believe that was a 9-foot width in that area. So that is pretty narrow for people coming in and out on the other side. Another point of clarification, that if there's additional impervious surfaces added, it might likely impact that wetland area, the wetland remediation review.
okay. So we could, if we were to add parking, not in the 9 feet, but have parking spots adjoining it, with our permeable material that can be used for that substrate versus a non-permeable. If that comes up and that's a concern and is problematic.
I don't know. I'm not gonna get. I don't know that answer,
Okay.
but it was just texted to me that this might be something to keep in mind, or if, as Commissioner Cochin was pointing out, if it could be moved into a different area away from that, it might be a more amenable solution if there is something there. But
There's just not, unless they were to reduce the scale of their multi-unit building, but I don't think they want to reduce their units density. But we have so much more going on in this agenda. I do not want to belabor this. Final thoughts and questions with regard to this amendment, and we'll just take it as it is.
One final
Commissioner
thought.
Cochin.
I was just looking at the map again, and with that additional information that City Manager Seifert gave us, down there on Public Road F, that little hammerhead that you were talking about, you said that there's parking down there,
That's private. Which,
right here.
oh, that, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that bump out is part
That
of
bump
That
out
is-
at Public Road F.
That
yeah.
is the exact same shape as what we're talking about at the top of Public Road E. So is there not already parking there then?
There's no parking. That's the dilemma. There's zero parking up there
Can you?
for public parking. There's
So
zero
why
public
is
parking.
it the same? Like it's private parking? Is that what the deal is?
No, it's just
They do have private parking on site, but not.
the public road F with the bump out that exists to the
It's not at the Hammerhead.
to,
It's
to the north. Sorry, to the
east. It's confusing. To the
Yeah.
east, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, to the east of the hammerhead.
Oh, I see. To the east of it.
Yeah,
okay.
it does have like a little bit of a bubble.
Now I see that. I
Yeah.
thought you were talking about the hammerhead shape. And I
Oh,
was like,
yeah,
well,
sorry,
that's
yeah.
the same shape as what we're talking about,
Yeah.
and we can just stop this conversation right now.
No. That's so that the snowplows can turn around.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Gotcha.
emergency vehicles can turn around. That's why we
Okay.
have that bulb out there.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Final questions or thoughts with regard to the amendment to the PUD? None. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
No.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
No.
Commissioner Cochin.
No.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Now it's on to the underlying motion with as amended with that additional condition. Final thoughts or questions with regard to that? No.
Wait.
And just for clarification, if this does not pass the unanimous vote, it will have to come back for a third reading.
Because of the amendment.
What?
Because of the amendment.
Because of the amendment, correct, yes.
Can you clarify, please?
So
Sure.
this PUD, because it has now been amended, requires a unanimous vote to be adopted as is without a secondary vote. If we have a simple majority vote, it will require a second reading and second vote, and require at least 4 to vote on the second time to adopt it in its finality.
Right. So what we're voting on right now is the PUD without any amendment as it stands.
No, the PUD with all the conditions.
With
the
all the
conditions that we added previously and
Okay.
the
All right, thank you.
condition we just added now.
Just wanted to make sure.
All right. So is there any questions or comments with regard to the PUD as it stands? Nope. Everyone understands what we're voting for. Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner Keener.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
And unanimous, there will not be a second reading.
Correct. Put that to bed. Now moving on. Item M, contract award H92218 Southern Avenue, Lake Shore to Seaway. Commissioner Kilville.
Thank you. Move to authorize staff to enter into a contract with K&R Inc. in the amount of $3,050,306 and 60 cents for the reconstruction of Southern Avenue from Lakeshore Drive to Seaway Drive.
Support. We have a motion by Commissioner Kilgo, supported by Commissioner German. Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. Director, thank you. My question is we did receive a bid from a local contractor. Can you tell me a little bit about the bids between the one that's in front of us from K&R and the bid from the local contractor?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Dan Vanderheide, Director of Public Works. Page 203 of your packet has a summary of those bids, and then the following 8 or 10 pages is a very detailed review of those bids. I think page 203 probably makes the most sense to take a look at. You'll see the 3 bids that we received, Kamiga and Rudvoots, sometimes referred to as K and R because it's much easier to say. Terra Contractors, which the public comment was made earlier this evening, and then Jackson Murky Contractors. You may or may not know the city has a 1% local preference for businesses based in the county of Muskegon and a 2% local preference for businesses based in the city. So when we took a look at this, Terra Contractors' bid was adjusted to account for a 2% local preference. Even in that case, K&R, Kamiga and Rudvoots, is the low bidder. For that reason, mostly, and some others, staff recommend K&R.
Thank you. So the number is different from what's in front of us on page 203 with the 2% local preference?
It is. The specific difference between the 2 bids after the 2% adjustment to Terra Contractors' bid is $22,736.73. So it is not much of a difference.
Mr. Manager, you have something to add?
So I just want to know, as has come forward in some other staff recommendations, we're following policy that the commission has put into place regarding the percentage grace given to county and city contractors, which helps to drive where the recommendations fall. So the direction or the recommendation that Director Vanderheid is making is based on the policy that the commission has asked us to follow in the past.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
My last question is, do you know where K&R is based out of?
They are based out of Grand Rapids.
Thank you.
Think Commissioner Go?
I don't know
Commissioner?
if Director Vanderheid submitted to what I said.
Yeah, I would say staff has requested in the past that the specific 2% and other financial policies that go into decisions like this be set aside in full disclosure. And in fact, Terra was the beneficiary of that, of one of those requests. I think it was a year and a half ago or so now. You may recall we requested to award to Terra Contractors the extension of Olthoff Drive over a contractor located further north, even though based on the percentage adjustments, Terra was not quite the low contractor. We did that just based on our confidence level in that other contractor to be able to complete the job, in the best and most efficient manner possible. I don't say that to cast any aspersions on Terra in this case. They're a great contractor. We enjoy working with them and look forward to working with them whenever we can. I will say that Kamiga and Rudvoots has recently completed both the Sanford project and is currently doing the Bluffton project, both of which are quite large contracts for the city and frankly even within the county. Sanford was something like $6 million, the Bluffton project 4 point something, and this is a $3 million contract. A&R has done an exceptional job with those contracts, and I think if we didn't have that experience with K&R, I might very well be standing here recommending Terra for the local preference reason, as I did about 18 months ago. But given those extremely positive results we've had from those 2 projects, and the fact that their bid meets the letter of the law in terms of low bid by the policy put in place, we are recommending.
Thank you, Director Vanderheid. Just a point of clarification to make sure I'm understanding correctly. 18 months ago, when the contract was awarded to Terra Contractors for Olthoff, they had exceeded the 2% differential, and so they were outside of the policy parameters, and we awarded it to them in spite of that at that time. Okay.
Correct.
But in this case, they're in contention, but they're 2.8% differential, exceeding the 2% delta that we've established. but your preference, even if it, would you? I'm going to put you on the spot. And we talked about this. So, if cost was not a matter in this case, given the track records, your experience, your preference for this project would be K&R.
It would, and again, that's not to take anything away from Terra. They're a very good contractor. It's just that in very similar projects to this one recently, we've had exceptional results.
Okay. Commissioner German is the supporter of the motion. Do you have anything to ask or add at this time?
No, I don't.
Okay. Commissioners, Commissioner Cochen.
I do, yes, thank you. I'm also going to put you on the spot, Director Vanderhyde, and I'm sorry. The contractor, the K&R contractors that we're discussing right now, and discussing their exceptional work, I am hearing the opposite from the residents on the Thompson and Edgewater area specifically, about the fill that's being used. I went out there personally to check it out because I was like, well, it can't be that bad. It's just filled with toxic gypsum weed and nails and broken glass and large rocks in the areas of the terrace that have been replaced. And I've got some concerns, so it does give me pause. I don't know what exactly the solution to that is because I have not got a chance to get a hold of you yet to discuss that. But it is something that is in the back of my mind while I'm making that decision tonight. So I don't know if there's anything that you can say about that would alleviate some of that concern, or.
Yeah. So we are aware of that and have been working with K&R to attempt to address it. Essentially what happened is they placed the topsoil, which is the last kind of dirt, I guess you'd say, that the contractor would place when preparing for grass. Placed that topsoil, they did not seed it at that time. And so effectively what grew up was the natural weeds and seeds that were either in that topsoil or that blew into it or whatever may have you. They should have, in hindsight, definitely seeded that in that first phase of the project when they did the work on Thompson and Edgewater. They didn't, so they went back recently and they sprayed all of that with weed killer, and they're planning to till it, similar to an agricultural operation, essentially turn all those weeds under after they're dead, and they become for the grass, so to speak, and then they're going to reseed it, or seed it in the first time, I should say, when they seed everything else in the neighborhood. It is still on each individual homeowner to water that area, and I think most of them understand that. But yes, we're aware of that, and we did work with them to remedy that situation.
Okay. Can you speak to the quality of the fill that's being used?
I confess I did not go out and look at it and see other than the weeds. I've driven through it and seen the weeds that had grown up, but I did not get out and sift through it myself, I guess. So I don't know that I can speak specifically to it. I can say that our third-party engineers, Pride and Newhoff, are confident that when properly seeded and treated, it will grow grass.
I appreciate that. It still does give me pause though with the concerns to the glass and the large nails that were in there, especially since this project does not involve nails. So it's not like it came off during the project. It's been in the topsoil, so it's not being screened, and that gives me pause. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Cochen. Any other questions or thoughts on this item?
Yes,
Commissioner
I
Gorman.
do want to say thanks to staff for following our process as instructed. I feel strongly about going with Tara on this instead. I feel like all of us that sit on this dais prioritize working local, and if we as a city commission cannot prioritize a local business, knowing that 2.8% within what we're looking at, I would just be disappointed to not support that. So that's how I feel.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorman. Any other thoughts or questions at this time? Okay. I will say that I've struggled with this because I have been reflecting on it over the past several days in terms of 2.8% versus our policy sets at 2% differential. I'd actually be willing to change that policy within reason, giving some more room. But I appreciate you stuck to the policy in terms of your recommendation here. You didn't have another compelling, overarching reason to deviate from the policy in your recommendation. And in understanding how Sanford project played out, I heard more from Sanford just in terms of how responsive and well it turned out. I haven't heard so much from Bluffton. I've heard differing stories. Some people from Bluffton say, "Oh, it's working really, really well." Other people do have some concerns here and there. But I remember Sanford, I got a lot of positive feedback about the engagement up front, the responsiveness, the communication. I know that communication is happening with Bluffton as well. They're regularly getting updates and communications on what's going on in the context. So I like that style. I don't know if that is also, part of the contract with Tara, but I really like that style that they employed with those projects. This is a very sizable project, and while we did deviate on Olthoff and gave it to the local contractor despite being outside of that 2% differential, the Olthoff project is a distinctly different dynamic than Southern Avenue or Sanford or Bluffton, because these are highly residential dense areas and you're having to engage with a lot of driveways and residents, and Olthoff was a different scenario. So I'm torn, because I really would love to see as much, if not all, of that $3+ million stay in our city, employing folks in, whether it's City of Muskegon or Muskegon County at least, employing folks in our area, keeping that money circulating in our area, supporting subcontractors, small business. So that ROI, the localized ROI is greater there. But in terms of residents' experiences and satisfaction, I'm inclined to agree with staff, a little reluctantly, just because I love the idea of keeping the money as much as possible circulated in our community. But Commissioner Kilgo.
Thank you. Seeing that the contractor's here, he hears us, I think, and if he had the opportunity to do Southern Avenue, there's going to be a magnifying glass on it, I would think. So I think that he would do everything he could to make sure that residents were well communicated with. It's going to be an inconvenience when you do a road, but we do them so that our roads don't look like some other roads that we've all driven on before. So I think with the contractor here and him hearing us, that he would be inclined to communicate well with all of the neighbors and all of the residents and do well. And if I had to put a priority sheet on there, that local ROI, I think, is a little bit more important than 0.8% deviation from our policy.
Mm-hmm.
Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Director Vanderhyde, can you refresh my memory? When you were talking about this, you said a lot of things. If dollars were equal, what would be your preference as the person in charge of a lot of really complicated projects that have the ability to really either tick our constituents off or make them really happy?
I think if money were no factor at all and there were no local preference or anything like that, my preference would be K&R, just based on experience that we've had with them, particularly recently. But I am not insensitive to the local factors and all of that money that's going out and going away or staying. So I believe that Tara will do or could do a fine job with the project. I believe that it is a good opportunity for them to show whether that $3 million level of work is in their wheelhouse, and we can rely on them for that level of effort in the future. And I'm sure, to Commissioner Kogo's point, Scott is itching to get that chance. So no money involved. I've said what I've said, but feel guilty if you have different opinions than I do.
Can't help feel guilty either way. Commissioner Coach. Oh,
Yeah, no,
Commissioner
go,
German.
go ahead.
Are we able to talk with the contractor? Is that an option? Or I can just ask. I can ask Director Vanderheim, but he might not know.
It's not been standard practice
Okay,
that we
all right, that's
have
fine.
bidders on contracts address the commission while we're considering the motion. They're certainly welcome to avail themselves of public comment as Mr. Dryer has.
Okay.
But we don't want to necessarily establish the precedent of bidders on contracts.
I understand. So, Director Vanderheide, the question that's bouncing around the back of my mind is, do we know of any other residential projects that Terra has done?
I know they've worked quite a bit more in other local cities and for outside the city boundaries, I guess, recently. They were involved early on in the Adelaide Point project. That's what comes to mind. I'm sure there could be more.
Okay. And then, just through the grapevine, have you heard any complaints from that other residential work in the other areas?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner German.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Director. Commissioner Cochin actually asked a question that I was thinking about, because most of the time contractors provide a portfolio of their work. And as a commissioner for the last 13 years, I've always been pro-union, I would say, and pro-local contractors for our work here. Anybody that wants to do business with the city of Muskegon. And as I've heard Sanford Street come up a few times and engaging with the community and the citizens. I actually live on Sanford, and as that project went on, the contractors made sure that they engaged with the community, and I actually assisted in some way. One question there, the sidewalks that's not completed, when are those going to be completed? Because that's the question I'm getting from constituents and citizens right now.
Sure. So that is essentially held up due to a grant application to the state to fund a portion of that work, and that MDOT, the organization that is offering the funding, is negotiating with the State Historic Preservation Office about various historic properties along Sanford and whether they are eligible or not eligible to be included on historic lists. And until that disagreement, I guess we'll say, is resolved, essentially the funding is on hold. But it is still the city's intention and MDOT's intention to fund and build that trail or that wider sidewalk as soon as we possibly can.
Okay, and that's good to know. I could share that with the public. And to Terra Contracts LLC, I encourage you to continue to bid on jobs here at the City of Muskegon. We try to be as inclusive as possible and fair, and definitely helping local contractors and local businesses. So, yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Any other questions or thoughts at this time? No.
I think I do.
Yep. Oh,
Sorry.
Okay, Commissioner Cochin.
So, because I haven't done one of these yet, when we vote on it, we just vote on the motion to go with K&R, right?
But the motion right now is to go with K&R. So that's the question.
Can I make an amended motion to go with Terra?
You can vote down the motion,
Okay.
and if the motion dies, then a motion can be made for Terra.
Gotcha. Okay.
But right now, the motion on the floor is to award the contract to Kamiga and Rudvoits.
Okay, thank you.
K&R Incorporated. So we had the experience with Terra on Old Top. We've had no other experiences in recent years or memory with regard to a like project similar to Southern Avenue.
Not in my experience here, and definitely not of that scale in recent years.
Okay. if we were, I'm going to put a hypothetical here. If we were to award this to Tara, do you and your staff have the capacity for additional level of oversight to ensure that this is up to the par that we expect, and then help ensure that they are knowing what we understand is a high level of quality and responsive service, so they can be accustomed to that and better equipped for any future contracts? Do we have the capacity for that additional level of oversight? Because we don't, even if, because this is going to come on you regardless. Like if we go to Tara, our residents are going to expect that. So like we are going to be pulled into it regardless. Do you have the capacity to handle that scenario?
I think it's more a question of, ensuring that we work closely with Tara if they are awarded the contract to ensure that that level of service is achieved. I'd say that we would need an additional level of capacity. I'm not sure that's exactly how it would play out. It might just, sometimes be a closer level of coordination required. In other words, less cruise control, more active communication and reach out. And I don't say that to disparage Tara in any way. I'm sure they're going to do a great job and absolutely the best that they can if they're awarded a contract. But to answer your question, we can definitely work with them to achieve a similar level of customer service.
Okay. Thank you. And when I said capacity, was not necessarily referring to competency whatsoever,
Sure.
or just bandwidth.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we have the motion on the floor. Roll call.
Commissioner Keener,
No.
Commissioner German,
I'm gonna say no.
Commissioner Gorman,
No.
Commissioner Cochin,
No.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
No.
Mayor Johnson,
No.
Commissioner Kilgo.
Good job, team.
Your confidence is inspiring. Just kidding.
Well, I have confidence that you're going to help ensure that we maintain that level of...
Just for clarification, did
Commissioner Kilgo has not voted
voted?
yet.
Okay.
You did vote no? Okay. So it's,
Motion is defeated.
motion is defeated unanimously. Okay, now we'd entertain a subsequent motion.
I make a motion to recommend to authorize staff to enter into a contract with Tara for their bid amount for the reconstruction of Southern Avenue from Lakeshore Drive to Seaway Drive.
Can you specify that amount?
I can do that. $3,135,758.50.
For
Not to exceed. All right. Got a motion by Commissioner Kilgo, supported by Commissioner German. I don't think we need any further discussion on this, unless you have some very final thoughts, but I'm good to go and support this. All right. Roll call.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
yes.
Commissioner Gorman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next item. Public hearing. So first one's from. Let's see. All right. So this is going to be a standalone hearing for this one. We're going to be handling a few of these in combined public hearings, but this one's going to be a standalone public hearing. This is for the request of issuance of a commercial rehabilitation certificate for Muskegon Midtown Center LLC, 1095 3rd Street. First, we will have the staff report on this item. Then we're going to invite comments. How do I want to do this? Yeah, we'll do comments first, then we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll have commissioner questions or comments on it. So, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Good evening. I'm Contessa Alexander, Development Analyst with the City of Muskegon.
Good evening.
So I am here to discuss the issuance of a commercial rehabilitation certificate for Muskegon Midtown Center LLC at 1095 3rd Street. So this is the former Catholic Charities building. The project will involve renovation of that will accommodate mixed uses, including residential, retail, and office space. The project will also support low to moderate income housing by accepting housing choice vouchers. The total capital investment exceeds $10 million with 30 new permanent jobs and 100 construction jobs expected to be created. So back in May of 2024, the City Commission approved the establishment of a commercial rehabilitation district. Since then, city staff has worked with the developer to finalize a purchase agreement with the city, which was approved on June 25th, 2024. So the developer is now seeking the issuance of a commercial rehabilitation certificate to further this development. So I do have a scoring metrics that our internal tax abatement committee, we meet to discuss the PA 198s, PA 210s, PA 255s, and PA 146. So I'll pass this out. So what you have is the scoring metrics, and based on that, that is what the internal tax abatement committee scores the projects on. So for this particular project, a PA 210, we looked at the taxable value, the location, the new business, and if it's resident owned or managed. The second sheet involves or shows the commercial or residential redevelopment areas. So I enlarged it so that you can see where the projects, this particular project is on, and then you'll also reference this for the next two projects as well. And based on our findings or our scores from the internal tax abatement committee, for this particular project, we scored them at 9 points, which would correlate to 10 years. So we provide this recommendation for you all, and you all have the final decision.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you sharing the cognates and the scoring system and the map, identifying where these are located. So appreciate that.
Welcome.
This is a public hearing on this item. This is pertaining to the commercial rehabilitation certificate for Muskegon Midtown Center at 1095 3rd Street, 3rd and Houston. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to give public comment at this time? Nope. I don't see anyone. We're going to go to the phones. That phone number is 231-724-6721. Note that calling in right now is solely as part of this public hearing on the issuance of a commercial rehabilitation certificate for Muskegon Midtown Center. And when you call in, please turn down any audio in the background. Don't think we have any takers for phone-in comments for public hearing. Commissioners, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to close the public hearing and approve the attached resolution for the issuance of a commercial rehabilitation certificate at 1095 3rd Street and authorize the city clerk and mayor to sign.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Vice Mayor St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments on this item? Nope. All right. Did an excellent job. Don't have any questions or comments. All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Commissioner, or Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes.
Commissioner Keener?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Awesome. I'm excited to see this project get done. Okay. Next. So this one is going to be, I'm going to do a combined public hearing with regard to the establishment of a commercial rehabilitation district at 349 West Webster, or for 349 West Webster LLC at 349 West Webster Avenue, as well as issuance of a commercial rehabilitation certificate for 349 West Webster LLC at 349 West Webster Avenue. It'll be a combined public hearing, but after we close the hearing, we'll have two separate motions for the establishment of the district and the issuance. But we're combining the hearings to try to expedite the process. So, report.
Sure. So, pursuant to Public Act 210 of 2005 as amended, 349 West Webster LLC is requesting the establishment of a commercial rehabilitation district, PA 210 at 349 West Webster Avenue to support development. So this is the former Muskegon Public Schools admin office. The project will accommodate mixed use, short-term rental, lodging, retail, and office space. The renovation will preserve key historic components while repairing the exterior facade. So the developer is requesting this district in order to apply for this certificate. And also the tax abatement committee also met for this project as well. And they scored this project at 9 points for 10 years.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, now we're going to open up to public comment. This is another public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to give comment on the establishment of this district or the issuance of a commercial rehabilitation certificate? Seeing no takers in the audience, we're going to go to the phones. That number is 231-724-6721. There's a little bit of a delay between me announcing it and people hearing on Facebook or YouTube, so we'll wait a moment or two. All right, no takers for phone-in comments on this public hearing. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support. Can we do that unanimously? We have to do roll call. Do we have to do roll call?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hoping to expedite it more quickly. Roll call on closing the public hearing.
Who is the second? Sorry.
All right, Commissioner
Thank
German, or Commissioner Kogo seconded Commissioner German.
Yes. Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes. I
Commissioner
realize I should have.
Kogo,
No, go ahead.
Yes.
Commissioner Keener.
Yes.
Sorry, I realized I should have had that close the public hearing attached to one of the district certificates. Darn it. Nonetheless, I would entertain a motion with regard to the establishment of a commercial rehabilitation district. Commissioner Kogo?
I do have a couple questions.
No, we can address the questions once the motion's made.
Okay.
I move to establish the commercial rehabilitation district at 349 West Webster Avenue and authorize the city clerk and mayor to sign.
All right, a motion by Vice Mayor St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Gorman. Vice Mayor St. Clair, do you have any questions, or I'm going to jump to Commissioner Kilgo?
Go ahead.
Commissioner Kilgo.
Hi, Contessa. Thank you for joining us. I'm just curious, did the city used to own this building?
Yes.
How long ago did this building change hands from
No,
the city?
not this one.
Public school.
Not this
Oh,
building.
we're talking about 1095.
Yes.
The city
Oh.
used to own, I'm sorry.
So
Not for the
349 West
349.
Webster was
The Hackley building.
School district.
it was a
School district.
Yeah.
Public schools.
Yeah, great. That's all.
Okay.
I know, we have so many public hearings and so many certificates and so many districts being established. Okay. Any other questions or comments with regard to the establishment of this district? No? Okay. Yes, Commissioner German.
Yeah. If the developer's in the chamber, I'd like to hear from the developer.
Billfish Group, who is working on this project, and he is available.
All right. Familiar face. Welcome, agent for. Please introduce yourself.
Fancy seeing you folks here. Frank Peterson. I work for Wheelfish Group. I represent Wheelfish Group on several projects, including we represent Wheelfish Group on the Hackley Administration Building, or what we're calling Hackley Square. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Long time no see.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was hiding. I've been hiding back there. I think this might actually be my first time back here for a commission meeting. I've been here, but it might be the first commission meeting.
Right. Yeah, if you can just kind of give us a brief scope of, why you're asking for the certificate and what's the larger picture.
Yeah, sure. So as you can imagine, there's a reason why the building was probably in such disrepair, because it's so expensive to keep up a building of that age. And so the first answer is the first question is why does it kind of need a tax abatement for it to cash flow or to make sense? It's really because of the high cost of redevelopment, and then to redevelop the building in a way that's true to the historic expectations of preserving the historic components of the building. And the HDC will certainly regulate the things on the outside, but we'll have some flexibility on the inside. But we'd like to hold true to a lot of those. And if you've been in the building, in order to hold true to some of those, you end up with a lot of kind of unmarketable spaces, right? There's a big open area in the middle that's harder to use and recoup cost on. It's still going to cost about just as much money per square foot to redevelop. But if you want to save that and preserve that as like a public space within the building, then you have to either reduce the cost on the redevelopment, or you have to reduce the operating cost. And this is one way for us to reduce the operating costs, at least for the first 10 years, while the building and the activities in the building kind of level themselves out in to a way where we're comfortable that they're profitable long term. I think to answer your next question about what the goal of the building is, and we looked at a lot of things to do in that building, and it's we looked at office space because that's kind of what it was. We looked at residential because we thought people would like to live in there. But what we settled down was on a mix of uses, with the predominant use being lodging. So the idea would be almost a hybrid in between a hotel and a short-term rental. So you can imagine a hotel with larger rooms, a hotel meant to have people staying a little bit longer. We think, with the conversations that are happening right now in the community, it could be a relief valve for some of the neighborhoods. As short-term rentals maybe become a little less prevalent in certain neighborhoods, we could add 40 to 50 new units in there that wouldn't be the same as renting a house, but it would accommodate more than just a traditional hotel room, right? Maybe 6 people or 7 people versus 2 or 4. And then the goal outside of that would be to use those common areas to activate as much as we can. So we're considering things like very small amounts of retail, but probably more like food service. When we say retail, or things more like spa types of services that maybe people that are staying there would use, or the community would use, but things that aren't heavy in terms of how they would change the interior makeup of the building. We could do some things in there that are more open, right? A little more open concept, and you don't end up hiding, the parts of the building that everybody wants to see when they get in there. The nice thing, in our opinion, about having it be something like this is, one, it gives people an opportunity to get in there. And actually, even though it might be maybe more expensive during peak season, there will be, plenty of off-season time where it's really actually affordable for people that live here to get in there and use a room and things like that. If you know anything about Brad and Kathleen Playford, you know that they love history, and they invest money in history almost to a fault sometimes. And I think what you're going to find is probably about half the rooms will be what we would call fully immersed, history. So they'll have antiques, they'll have things in it from probably pre-1920 Muskegon. They'll be decorated like that. So you'll be able to come in and kind of get the feel of, you see the Hackley story or the Civil War gold story, those sorts of things. And then the other half of the rooms will be just really nice hotel rooms. So they won't necessarily be immersive. They won't be meant to look like the 1920s or the 30s or the 1910s, but they'll be just really nice standard hotel rooms. Those will be a little bit more affordable, obviously. But we think it's a great use. We're worried that we're stepping out, we're doing something that's a little bit different. It's hard to find the right model. Do we base it on what hotel rooms are generating? Do we base it on what short-term rentals are generating? It's really something in between the two, and having the tax abatement will help us as we kind of build up that business and make sure it's profitable. And obviously, the ultimate goal is if we're able to put something in there that's profitable, then the building will be much better taken care of for generations to come.
Okay, thank you. Just one follow-up question there. Also, now this is not the first project that the company's done here in Muskegon, right?
No.
Yeah.
So Brad, prior to starting Wheelfish, was responsible for the rehab of NIMS school building. So you would expect like a similar. I think if those people who have been on that site or have seen the building or been in the building, and see the care that they take for that building, you would expect a similar sort of outcome on this building.
Yeah, did an excellent job. And for local contractors, I mean, you're going to need contractors. Are we looking at local contractors?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. We haven't selected our contractors yet. Actually, we're using a local architecture firm, so we're using Hooker & Young. So there's the first step. Really, we've had a little bit of asbestos abatement stuff that's gone on in there. The only contractor that really we've started with is interior demolition contractor, and that's mostly because we really need to get a good look at what we can uncover in all those hidden areas that have been covered for the last 50 years or whenever they started covering them up and putting up drywall and studs and stuff like that. But at that point, we'll have a pretty open and competitive bid process. You probably noticed, you saw us, we're involved with Mr. Duzendang on the project at Midtown. Our expectation is we'll leverage him and his assets and his contractors as much as we can, and we know a lot of those, including Platinum, they are local and they have local employees.
Right. And minority contractors also is a key as we talk about the diversity, equity, inclusion, our mission statement.
Absolutely.
Those are things that's essential, and that we should look at those also.
Absolutely. One thing I will point out, though, there are going to be some components of that restoration. You saw that with the exterior and the work that was out there. They'll be very, very specialized. And, there really wasn't a local there are local contractors that can do some of the stonework, and we plan on using them. But the big, heavy lifting types of things that are very specialized, we might find that we have to go to Grand Rapids to get the people that have history in handling those pieces of the job.
Right.
The building's just too important to us. We want to make sure that it's done right. Not to say that local contractors couldn't, but there are some pieces that we expect will be hard to find qualified local folks for.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner German. Did I see your hand up, Commissioner Kogo? Oh, nope. All right. Anyone else have questions or comments? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson, and thank you to Wheelfish, and thank you to Brad and Kathleen Playford, not only for their care for NIMS Elementary, former NIMS Elementary, because it's beautifully done and beautifully cared for still, but I know that they'll do an excellent job with this very precious building in our community, former Hackley Admin Building. All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes,
Commissioner Kilgo.
Point of information, is this for both?
this is for the district.
It's for the
We have to
district,
note
thank
separately
you.
on the certificate.
Thank you, yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Now, I'd entertain a motion with regard to the certificate.
Oh,
So
On the certificate.
I'm-
So, I entertain a motion to approve the attached resolution establishing issuing a commercial rehabilitation certificate at 349 West Webster Avenue. Should we say issuing a commercial rehabilitation certificate to 349 West Webster LLC at 349 West Webster Avenue, and authorize the city clerk and mayor to sign?
What?
You can.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So moved.
Making the motion. Are you making the motion?
Yeah.
Support.
All right, so we have Commissioner Cochin and supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. Does everyone understand what the motion is?
Which item was that?
This is the
Oh, sorry. We're
issuance of a commercial rehabilitation certificate for 349 West Webster LLC at 349 West Webster Avenue. All right. Any questions or comments before this? Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Okay, now this is going to be a combined public hearing with the interest of expediting the process, and this should speed things up. When we close the first public hearing, we're going to attach another motion to it, such as, I don't know, establishing the district. That'll be it. We're going to take these out of order then. We're going to do one public hearing for everything, but item F, not sorry, shows item F because I wrote down F. What's it here? Is it F, public hearing F? Yeah. That will be the motion attached to closing the public hearing. Does that understand? Establishing the obsolete property district. And then we'll handle the certificates individually.
Okay. So we're gonna do. Yeah, item F.
We're going to do...
At the end of the public hearing, if I might try.
That would
Would
be
be
a
a motion.
please,
A motion to close the public hearing
And approve the resolution establishing an obsolete... We'll get to it when we get to it.
I'll read the motion at the end if you'd like me to, because okay.
But we are going to do... This is all related to the Shaw Walker redevelopment.
Thank you.
These 4 different items, but they need to be broken out by select buildings. So we're going to be doing a public hearing, a combined public hearing on 4 different elements, one of which is to establish an obsolete property district for 965 West Western, and well as the issuance of obsolete property certificates for Shaw Walker Opportunity Zone Business 2 LLC for buildings 2, 4, and 7. Well, 2 and 4 at 920 Washington Avenue and building 7 at 965 West Western Avenue. All right. Please introduce yourself again and report out on all of these different items.
Contessa Alexander again, development analyst with the city of Muskegon. So as the mayor mentioned, this is for the Shaw Walker development project. The developer has divided the project into 7 different buildings, which will involve incentives. So that is why we are combining these. So pursuant to Public Act 146 of the of Michigan Public Acts of 2000, the developer is requesting an obsolete property rehabilitation district and the issuance of a obsolete property rehabilitation certificates at 920 Washington and 965 West Western Avenue. So for building 2 and 4, the project involves converting, specifically for building 2, the project involves converting the first floor into approximately 11,500 square feet of commercial retail space available for lease, with a total capital investment of over $1.1 million. The developer aims to attract businesses such as restaurants, markets, fitness centers, daycares, hair salons, massage therapists, which are expected to create 200 jobs. And similar to Building 2, Building 4 will also be converted into commercial retail space with a capital investment of $4 million. And they're also targeting the similar businesses at this site. So moving to Building 7, which is at the 965 Washington Avenue, the developers is seeking a absolute property rehabilitation district, which will enable them to also apply for the certificate after the district is approved. So for this project, it will involve 52,000 square feet of enclosed parking garage with a capital investment of over $1.5 million. And similar to the previous projects, all of the buildings were separately scored by the Tax Abatement Committee. So if you wanted to refer to your matrix, we scored based on the taxable value, the location, the new business, and resident own or manage. So for building 2, based on the metrics, we scored them at 5 points, which would correlate to 4 years. For building 4, we scored the developer 7 points, which would contribute to 8 years. And then for building 7, we scored 6 points, which would contribute to 8 years. And the developer is here too, so if you have any questions specific to the project, feel free to invite the developer to discuss.
Building 2, how many points?
We're
is
going to
that?
do a public hearing, so we'll entertain or we'll welcome any comments from the audience. Then we'll go to the phones, and then we will close the public hearing, and then we'll have staff or commission questions of staff or the developer, as well as any commentary on the motion. So, thank you, Analyst Alexander. So anyone in the audience wishes to give public comment on this at this time? We're going to call you up later. Anyone else wishes to give public comment at this time? No? Okay, we're going to go to the phones. 231-724-6721. And this is specifically to the public hearings with regard to establishment of an obsolete property district at 965 West Western, as well as the issuance of obsolete property certificates within that district. Pending district, potential district. All right, no callers.
No, Mayor.
All right. Mr. Echolm, I saw that you were interested in speaking during public. I was going to welcome you up to speak as a staff person, but is this something that you wish to give comment during the public hearing separate in your solely private capacity as a citizen? Okay, then I will call you up separately when we get a motion. All right. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing and to approve the attached resolution establishing an obsolete property district at 965 West Western Avenue and authorize the city clerk and mayor to sign.
So moved.
Support. I have a motion by Vice Mayor St. Clair, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. Director Echolm, you want to address the commission now? And please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jake Echolm. I'm the Director of Development Services for the City of Muskegon. I wanted to quickly point out, it was brought to our attention that the motion for the various certificates didn't contain that number of years. And so Mrs. Alexander will clarify those. And then I believe the developer will speak. But this is an interesting case we haven't had before. So due to the scale of the project, and the phasing in multiple years that will be involved in actually building it out, they're asking for separate certificates that can be deferred for various lengths of time per the statute. And so had these been taken as one collective project, they would have exceeded the threshold for taxable value creation to get the maximum. Our staff correctly made the recommendation based on the letter of the policy. And so I'm quite sure the developers will have something to impart about that. But I wanted to point that out. That's why there's 3 separate asks. And then also, we did notice that the years were not in the motion, and so Mrs. Alexander will clarify those now that the public hearing has been closed.
Okay. So we will keep that in mind, commissioners, as we're moving forward with the individual certificates. Right now, it's just the establishment of the district. Do you have any questions or comments on just the establishment of the district itself? Nope. All right. Roll call, please.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner Keener,
Yes.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you. Now the district has been established, and we're going to move on to the first certificate, which is the request to issue an obsolete property certificate for Shaw Walker Opportunity Zone Business 2 LLC, Building 4 at 920 Washington Avenue. So welcome back.
Oh. So yes, for building 2, the developer is requesting the certificate since the district has been established and just to reiterate, the space is 11,500 square feet of commercial retail, investment over $1.1 million, job creation of 200 in target businesses are restaurants, markets, fitness centers. And with this particular incentive, based on previous year's taxable value, the taxable value is frozen for a duration of the exemption for up to 12 years for commercial and commercial housing. So it's encouraging developers to develop on obsolete buildings, contaminated, blighted, and functionally obsolete. So for building 2 specifically, the tax abatement committee suggested 4 years.
Okay. Any questions for Analyst Alexander before I call up the applicant for the certificate? Commissioner Kilgo.
Yeah, I guess my only question is, so the abatement, because there's going to be different phases, such a large project will be frozen until they complete that phase of the project?
Correct, yep.
Thank you.
Any others before I call up the applicant? No. All right. Thank you, Analyst Alexander. We'll have you back in just a moment. Who wishes to speak on this? Mr. Rooks. Mr. Sharon. All right, if you both would Mr. Rooks, if you kindly introduce yourself.
Yes, good to see you all again. John Rooks, 75 West Walton, across the street. First of all, thanks for the pizza. That was a lifesaver on a long night like tonight. We are going to say a lot of the same things Frank said when he talked about the Catholic Charities building. There's 2 big challenges with projects, and one of them is construction cost, and the other is carry cost. And your carry cost is higher when you spend more money on construction, and your carry cost is higher because of the interest rates doubling in the last 6 years. So in order to offset this, this is the type of thing that can really, to offset those costs, this is the type of abatement that can really help make a project's bottom line work in order to achieve financing and in order to achieve any kind of bottom line. The project is going to result in $15 million of annual economic impact per a Grand Valley State University study that we commissioned, and over $1.5 billion in the next 50 years for the local community. That's in addition to the tens of millions of property taxes it will have generated for the city in the next couple decades. So the policy that is designed, unfortunately, breaks this building into 7 buildings, and we didn't do that. We just inherited 7 different buildings. And so when you look at it from a technical perspective on your policy, your rating system and scoring system works against this building because it breaks it down into 7 different buildings instead of the whole project. And I know that it's Contessa's job to do the recommendation based on the policy, but I think you've just deviated from the policy on the 280 Muskegon building and also on the Socio Bowl building. And we just think if you're looking at investment thresholds, there's probably never been a project of this high of investment threshold in the city of Muskegon. That's a residential or commercial ever. We're just requesting the maximum length of the OPRA, a deviation from your policy like you did on the other two buildings due to the reasons I've suggested. The state supported this project based on the assumptions that the local unit of government will also make a contribution towards this project. And the tools that you have in your toolbox are the NEZ and the OPRA. Unlike some of the other communities that have some leftover ARPA money, which, the timing is off for this, and the RAP money that was being made available during COVID, that's not good timing either. That's been used up. So these are the tools that are available, and that's what we're asking for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Rooks.
Thank you.
Commissioners, questions for Mr. Rooks? Commissioner Kilgo.
Yes, so just to be clear, 12 years is what we're asking for on the OPRA.
Okay, 12 years.
So currently, we're at, unless we didn't get all of them, we got building 4 at 8 years, building 2 at 4 years, building 7 at 8 years. Are the numbers that I don't have, are there different abatements for those buildings as well? Or it's just building 4, building 2, and building 7?
The only ones we're asking for the Obsolete Property Act benefit is the buildings that you just described.
Okay.
The other ones have NEZ, and we don't have to ask you for a different amount of time. We're asking for 15 years on those, which has a 3-year phase out at the end. But the scoring system that we're talking about relates to the OPRA.
Okay.
And then Jake will probably correct me if I said anything incorrectly from a technical perspective.
Do you have the numbers for, I just want to get clarification, for these 3 certificates that we'll be considering, the obsolete property certificates for building 2, 4, and 7, do you have the numbers that the staff recommendation is? Okay. I heard 4 years for the one we're on right now, the motion we're on right now, but for the other 2, building 7 and buildings 2.
Building 4.
Building 4 is 4 years, is what I heard. Is the one we're on right now.
Building 4, we had 8 years.
So it's 8 years.
Yep.
Okay, I heard 4 years there. So that's 8 years.
Building 2, we had 4 years, and building 7, 8 years.
And building 7 is 8 years as well. Okay.
A little bit down to 5, 7.
Okay. All right. Everyone's got that information? We're all clear? Now I'm on the same page? Good.
And then also, I just want to make sure that we have the addresses correct for the resolutions or the motions. So for buildings 2 and 4, that correspond to 920 Washington, and building 7 corresponds to the 965 West Western.
We're on building 4 right now for 920 Washington Avenue. Correct, that's the motion you got?
No, she's been talking about building 2. That's what we have down, both of us, that you've been discussing building 2 and the 4 years.
Oh, I was going with the first letter in the alphabet
I know,
D,
that's where
which
it's
is
been a little
building
bit
4.
Confusing, but she's been addressing building.
That's why I put,
Yeah.
that's okay, that's why I have the wrong number
Yeah.
down there, because I thought she
Yeah.
was talking about this item.
Yeah, we're over here, I think we're
Whew.
catching up though with where we're at.
What was the motion, though? I thought the motion was for...
It was certificate for building 2, 4 years was the motion that,
Yeah.
No, actually, no, it wasn't. We haven't made a motion.
Well, no,
That's the dilemma. We haven't made a motion. That is the dilemma. There is no motion. We've been doing Q&A, and I was kind of intentional thinking we'd save some time because you could decide which number you want to put in your motion. But I thought we were talking about item D, building 4.
So are we doing a motion for all three?
No, we had to do them separately.
Separate motion for each one.
But it was not included in the number of years. Okay, so I'm going to start with item D because I'm going in alphabetical order. D, E, and G. We already handled F because that's the establishment of the obsolete property district itself. We're going to start with item D. D. So, D, the staff recommendation is 8 years. The applicant's requesting 12 years. I would entertain a motion on this.
I'd make a motion to award the applicant the full 12 years for building 4.
Support.
Could you
You have to read the whole thing.
read the...
I'm sorry.
It's a public hearing.
Public hearing's already closed, but you can make a motion to approve the attached resolution, and then you'd have to include the number of years in there. So you'd say, I'll read the motion that I just heard from you, and you can, if I understand you correctly, motion is to move to approve the attached resolution for the issuance of an obsolete property certificate for 12 years for Building 4 at 920 Washington Avenue, and authorize the city clerk and mayor to sign.
So move, yeah.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Kilgo, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. I'm going to go to Commissioner Kilgo first.
Okay.
I'll come to you, Commissioner German. Commissioner Kilgo, the motion maker.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this because I feel the same for all of the buildings. It's the biggest, oldest eyesore in our community, and we all want it to be the renderings that we've seen from the developer. So it is a massive project. I think that they deserve the full 12 years.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
I would concur. I think this is the easiest support that I have had for a while. This building has been a blight. It is right on the lake shore. It is right in the heart of an old neighborhood. It is one of those spaces where every time I see somebody talking about it on Facebook, there is so much disgust and skepticism about whether this process can launch. I really want to do whatever we can support this, the asset to the community from a housing perspective, with a really big chunk of the middle income and lower income housing need. And if we have to tear this building down, what is the demolition cost going to be to the city? It's an easy support for me.
Any other questions or comments on this? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner German.
Yeah, Ms. Alexander, you recommended 8 years on this. Why was that?
So that's strictly just going from the metrics that you
Yep.
have, just going by that. Nothing
Okay.
else, yeah.
Okay, nothing else. And the developer is asking for 12, which that motion's been made. It's about time something's going on with this building. I'm sitting on this commission, since 2012. And we did some development, and Mr. Rux has been instrumental in a large portion of the development here in the city of Muskegon to spark this initiative to get the momentum going. And your work, your time, your effort is greatly appreciated because downtown is now thriving. It's more of a robust downtown, so it's good to see that. One of the things that, as some of the other commissioners shared, that eyesore of that part of the West End down there, finally something's going to be developed where it can benefit the whole community, and I'm just glad to see that. I want to see it come into fruition, so I'm in support of the 12 years, and You talked about the 200 jobs. That's an incentive also. I like to see local contractors, minority contractors, because as a commissioner who considers yourself business friendly, also, I'm also community friendly. So I like for it to benefit everyone and give them the opportunity to benefit and prosper also. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner
Yep.
German. Any other questions or final thoughts before we go to roll call? Nope. All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cochin?
An excited yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes.
Commissioner Keener?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Next item. E, under our public hearings. As I heard it earlier, the staff recommendation per the parameters of the scoring system is a 4-year recommendation for building 2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So, commissioners, we've heard that for the scoring system's 4 years, applicants requesting the maximum of 12 years. I would entertain a motion.
So move. Or do I need to read it?
Is the consensus we're doing 12 years for each one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I would welcome a motion to approve the attached resolution for the issuance of an obsolete property certificate for 12 years for Building 2 at 920 Washington Avenue and authorize the city clerk and mayor to sign.
So moved.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Kilgo, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. Any further discussion or questions?
Just a comment. If I may.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, Commissioner
okay.
German.
As I stated before, it's probably going to take a good 12 years to get this thing right. So we want to allow you all the time you need. And because there's a lot of work to be done.
Take too much time.
Yeah.
Time.
But-
Just-
Well, I'm quite sure that he's going to get it done.
Thank you, Commissioner
Yeah.
German. All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes.
Commissioner Keener?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. All right, next item. This pertains to the issuance of an obsolete property certificate, Shaw Walker Opportunity Zone Business 2, LLC, Building 7 at 965 West Western. I've already heard that everyone wants to do 12 years, so I would entertain a motion to approve the attached resolution for the issuance of an obsolete property certificate for 12 years for Building 7 at 965 West Western Avenue and authorize the city clerk and mayor to sign. All right, motion by Commissioner Cochin, supported by Commissioner Kilgo. Any further questions or comments? Or do you have anything additionally to add, Analyst Alexander?
I don't think so.
All right. Roll call.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman? Yes. Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kilgo?
Yes.
Commissioner Keener?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. We got through that. We still have one more public hearing. All right. This is a public hearing on a request to create a new neighborhood enterprise zone district at 930 Washington Avenue. Welcome back, Analyst Alexander. You care to
Hello.
report on this item?
Sure. So this is at 930 Washington Avenue. So pursuant to Public Act 147 of 1992, the developer of the Shaw Walker project has requested to create a new neighborhood enterprise zone district for parcel 930 Washington. Properties located in this NEZ district will be eligible for an NEZ certificate, and which will lower the residential property taxes on new construction. And mentioned previously, for this particular incentive, it is provided for the rehab and development of residential housing. Encourages developers where development may not otherwise happen.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience wishes to give public comment at this time? No? All right. We're going to go to the phones. Calling number is 231-724-6721. 231-724-6721. If you're calling in, this is for this specific public hearing on the creation of a new neighborhood enterprise zone district at 930 Washington Avenue. All right. Doesn't sound like we have any takers for phone-in comments
No, Mayor.
for this public hearing.
No.
Okay, Commissioners, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing and approve the Neighborhood Enterprise Zone District at 930 Washington Avenue and authorize the City Clerk and Mayor to sign the district resolution.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Cochin, supported by Vice Mayor St. Clair. Any questions for staff or the applicant? Any comments to share before we go to roll call? No? Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Keener?
Yes.
Commissioner German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman? Yes. Commissioner Cochin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor St. Clair?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. This concludes our public hearings. Brings us to our final scheduled agenda item of the night. Well, we have other agenda items, public comment and adjournment. But new business, our sole and final new business item is a special event, Ballin' on the Beach. Welcome.
Evening. Ballin' on the Beach happened last year in 2023 as its inaugural year. It was down closer to the Kite Shack end of the beach. It was a slightly smaller event, and this year with the requested changes, we thought it appropriate per the new part of the policy that any new events at Pierre Marquette come before commission. This year they are asking to approximately double the size of the event with the number of trucks that they would be inviting. They're asking to add a beer tent and amplified sound with a band. The map is included in the packet in the original application and some more details that I provided. Mr. Carroll is here for any questions. He's the event organizer.
Thank you. Commissioners, before we have any questions or further commentary, I would entertain a motion.
Yes, cool. I move to approve Ballin' on the Beach event from 8 a.m. on September 28th until 2 p.m. on September 29th with no alcohol or trucks with trailers and amplified sound must end by 9 p.m.
Second.
All right, a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Commissioner Keener, so that we may proceed with discussion of this item. All right. Commissioners, would you like to hear from the applicant or the permanent applicant?
Yes, please.
All right. Mr. Carroll? Thank you for your patience this evening. Welcome. So you'd like to give us a little background, some information about your event that you'd like to hold?
I'm like a third generation trucker. I mean, at Team Services, I've been 13. Trucking is kind of my life. I know my family, my dad and grandfather are like Native American people. My mom, she's like a Polish gypsy woman. And we didn't have nothing when I was younger. You know, now my sister, she's like Halliburton's #1 oil sand supplier. Trucking's been good to my family. And there's a lot of them here. There's a whole lot of Teamsters here. A lot of... We would always get our power, well, like Grand Rapids and Holland and Ottawa County, because so many of our people work there. There's so many truckers here, and a friend of mine called me up and he's like, bro, you gotta do a truck show. And this would be the coolest job anyone could ever have. And my friend told me, he said, if I do a good job, I get the right trucks here, it'll be good. And I just want to make something really cool, you know, and hopefully a little bit of opinion here about the truckers in the area, because we all just want the best for ourselves and our community, you know, and we want to make a good living. So hopefully it's really, really cool, and hopefully this isn't the last of it. Hopefully I can do it for a long time, and I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Before I open to the commissioners and ask any questions of you or give feedback, I just want to say thank you, you know, as a trucker, and say my appreciation for truckers. Truckers are incredibly important to the economy. of our state and our country, the backbone of the supply chain, and getting the goods that we need when we need them. And I'm particularly appreciative of Teamsters who have helped ensure truckers do have that good living. And so I just want to thank you and all truckers for the work that they do. One question I have before I open up is, what is the compelling reason, or is there a unique feature as to why your event, that Pure Marquette Beach is the appropriate venue for your event versus any other place? And had you considered any other places?
It's the coolest place in Muskegon. I mean, most truck shows, they're in a parking lot. It's uncomfortable. Like, it probably wouldn't be what it is this year or last year if it wasn't on the beach. Everybody wants to come here and see the beach. Like, to spend a couple of days in our trucks, in the water, all the different people that come down there. There's no better place for it. I mean, you guys been down there, come on. It's the most beautiful place that I've ever been to. The sunsets. Last year it was, I want to say magical. It was awesome. Everybody brought together, you know, the sunset, everybody was hugging. There was there's no cooler place in Muskegon to do it. And it's bowling on the beach. It's not bowling in a parking lot.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. I did hear some feedback from the community after last year's event, which weighs in my mind as some of my own personal thoughts and reservation. But before I weigh into those or share them, I open it up to the commission to ask questions and otherwise share feedback. Commissioner Keener.
Thank you for your time. I can appreciate your service too. My grandmother was a trucker, and it is what pretty much made us a decent income. And so I really appreciate the service that you give. However, I do have a concern about that many semis traveling through the roadways on the beach. Structurally, they could use quite a bit of work. And I'm just wondering if you all had considered somewhere like Heritage Landing, because it's still kind of the beach, you know. But that's my biggest concern, is what those trucks would do, how they would impact our roadways.
We're not bringing trailers down there, so I figured, went down there and measured everything out. You can fit almost 70 in there if we park them in sideways on each other. I have no idea about roads. You know, I don't know. I know that if we're light and we're easy, there should be no issues. You know what I mean? And everybody that's coming is professional, so there's probably, you know, there's not no halfway drivers coming. You know, we know this is an opportunity, and I know it's a blessing. So ain't no way you're gonna do something intentionally to hurt the show, a city, or especially the beach. I mean, you know, I'm a beach bum trucker. I go to the beach every weekend, every day. I try to run down there. So it's my favorite place in the world. I would not want to hurt it in any way.
And I can totally appreciate when anyone wants to bring
on the way,
an activity.
If we're on the bobtails, if we come in, most of them they're pretty light. So most of them will be under, you know, anywhere from 12 to 18,000 pounds. So with the tires how they are, there shouldn't be no road damage, and there shouldn't be no issues. Now, if we went in there fully loaded, you know, and we had 50 trucks hauling 80,000 pounds, that might be an issue. But if we're bobtailing, I don't think it'd be any issue. Last year it did real good. You know, we didn't have no problems with any like that stuff, the surface or whatever. So I don't think we'd hurt anything.
One more question. Last year, and we do appreciate you bringing this to Muskegon. We always want to see people come and enjoy our city. How many people attended last year?
Counting at 6,000 people. That was like Saturday about 3 o'clock. I had my little clicker. It rolled over 3 times. I threw it away. I was done counting. There was a lot. I couldn't believe it. It was the first day we had it open. There was a lot of driving through. Then the second day it was shut down and everybody was coming. It probably would have been a lot more if our parking was all jacked up because we were in that parking lot and everybody had to walk down real far. Like, there was a lot of people there. It was like all the little kids there, you know, it was pretty sweet.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cochin.
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for coming and speaking to us tonight. Some of the feedback that I got as the ward representative for that area specifically was people thought it was unique. They thought it was different. There was a fair amount of skepticism, and then some people went down there and they said that they had a good time. That being said, I do share Commissioner Keener's concerns in regards to the infrastructure. That road is not doing good as it is right now. Adding additional weight to it, it does give me pause for concern. I think that it is a cool event, and I don't want to discourage you from doing it, but I think maybe finding an alternative location might be best, or a smaller scaled down version might gain more favor.
Commissioner Cochin.
Okay, can I ask a question? So does that mean like less trucks, or what do you mean by that?
I think yes. I think that would be probably something that at least the constituents that I represent, something that they would be more comfortable with. Less trucks.
Okay.
Can you clarify something? I thought I heard, or maybe I misheard, or maybe I misread somewhere. I thought I heard or read somewhere earlier that you're looking to double the event this year in terms of attendance. But I saw in the application, you said just a moment ago, last year you stopped at 6,000, but I saw in the application that you're expecting 6,000 this year. So do you expect it to exceed that, or I guess Jackie might have something to...
Yeah, I think that was my miscommunication. The double in the size and the reference that he was, last year had 26 bobtail trucks and one trailer, and this year it would be over 40 bobtail trucks.
So it's
and
doubling
4
the
trailers.
trucks.
Yeah, the number of vehicles.
Okay, doubling the vehicles, and it'd be 6,000 plus attendees. Gotcha. Any other questions or comments on this item? Commissioners?
Can I say something? You're insured if anything does happen.
Do you have a question for Mr. Carroll? For the comment?
More of a comment.
Okay. Any final thoughts you wish to share with the commission?
I'm from Muskegon. I've been here my whole life. My family, 7th generation farmers out by Urbana. Coolest thing I ever done in my life. Please let me do this. Whatever we gotta do. We got insurance. You know, whatever happens, we'll cover it. I doubt anything will happen. Please let me do this. It's gonna be sweet. This may sound wrong or it may sound right. I got over 40 millionaires coming. I hope to get a couple beers in them and they make some horrible financial decisions in Muskegon over the weekend. That's my goal.
Or the best financial decisions ever. Thank you, Mr. Carroll. And anyone have questions for Mr. Carroll? Or is that the... If not, thank you, Mr.
I do have one more.
Commissioner Cochin.
Mr. Carroll, do you anticipate any vehicles being on the actual beach itself?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
We're in the parking lot. We went down there, did some test runs. We pulled a trailer in there and a truck in there. We tried to fit it out. We measured it, and then I figured out how much is in there. So we went down there to test run, and we didn't have no issues down there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
I also thought it was worth noting that I didn't make a note previously that the Test Fest will be going on by the Kite Shack as well on this date. First, and it's the annual kite surfing festival down by the Kite Shack. So they would be running concurrently on this date.
So there's already an approved event happening at this site. How many attendees are expected? Do you recall? So just a heads up, commissioners, this is another item that I plan on us addressing and discussing at a future meeting, legislative policy committee meeting likely, which is with regard to our special event policy. The prospect of events of a certain size requiring them to have shuttle service, and being more mindful or conscientious about overlapping events of a certain size. And so just a heads up, that's where my mind's at, and where I'd like us to have future conversation and consideration. But
The Test Fest put an estimated crowd size of 200.
That's not
So they're not a large event, but just to be mindful that both large parking lots would be occupied by an event.
Okay. And they've been here before?
Yes.
Would you say 200 is on par from your recollection? Okay. Gotcha. Vice Mayor St. Clair.
So, looking at the application, the request was for the event to have a beer tent and trucks with trailers, and staff is recommending that we do not do alcohol or trucks with trailers.
We had concerns about the trailers just in that we have two events going on at the same time. So if a trailer were to get stuck, that's going to create a traffic hazard. Or if one of the trailers were to damage the roundabout. So those are the two larger concerns about the trailers. For the alcohol, that to us, this changes the tone of the event. I know it's a short distance, but being that much closer to residents with the amplified sound and adding the alcohol makes it to us feel slightly more like a private event versus the public event that we liked celebrating the beautiful trucks that they brought and more of a touch the trucks type of feel of event versus adding alcohol to it. Change the tone, also recognizing the strain that it's been on the residents down there. The deck will have closed the weekend before, so this is extending that event season one more weekend, and the recognition on police staff of adding another weekend to their already long list of weekends for the event season. So,
And I have another question, which might be for Mr. Carroll, but perhaps you can answer. Is the intention for the trucks to be stationary for the duration of the event? Are they going to be moving? Are they going to be running? I'm concerned about 40-something semis off-gassing on the beach for 2 days. I know trucks will often idle.
Last year, it was my recollection that they parked on Friday and then they did not leave until Sunday.
And is that your intent, that they pull in, they park, they sit there, they're not running,
Yeah,
they're
everybody
not?
just kind of just gets a chair by the truck, and hangs out. Like to.
Okay.
No running, we don't. No driving around, just sitting there.
All right, thank you.
The tour around the lake that happened, was that an organized tour?
It was a parade.
There was a parade of trucks coinciding with your event. Was that an
So,
organized that went throughout, hugged our shoreline, because you could see it on the other side of Muskegon Lake in North Muskegon along Memorial Lake. Was that an organized tour of trucks?
Last year it was applied for and staff had denied it mostly because of the lane reduction at the time on Shoreline Drive. And so we said that we can't stop you from leaving at the same time, but you have to obey all traffic laws and everything like that.
Okay. That was one of the things that I heard in terms of feedback from our community and our residents, was a concern about the noise of that event, and also the coal rolling. There was a lot of coal rolling that was happening, and it was very off-putting. And that's why I struggle with using our pristine Pere Marquette Beach as a setting for an event like this. Not that I oppose the event, like I said. I think it could be a good event, and I appreciate truckers and what they do for our country. I'm just struggling with Pere Marquette Park as the appropriate venue for this type of event. Commissioners, any further questions or comments before we go to roll call? Nope. Okay.
Wait, I do have one more question. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yes, Commissioner Koshin.
Can you tell me what the parking lot size is for parking spaces if the center parking lot is being used? So all the other additional parking spaces, how many do we have if that center parking lot is being utilized?
Staff on this one? Yeah.
I have some numbers in my head from the Pere Marquette parking upgrade design that has happened. I think the main parking lot is something like 80 or 90 spaces right now. I think total, it was something like 200, just over 200, 220, something like that. So a little bit less than half of the spaces in the area.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Commissioner German.
Yeah, I do have a question. Thank you, Mayor. This event took place last year, right? Okay. And I guess my question would be, was everything done in compliance with the recommendations from the city, the permits that was needed, if any were needed?
Yes, sir. He met all of the conditions of the approval for his event.
Okay. And there were no trailers on the trucks?
He had one trailer last year.
One trailer.
A first responder trailer.
Okay, okay.
It was
And
approximately 53 feet, 8 feet.
Okay, and that was, it had to be approved by the city, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any final thoughts or questions? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kilgo,
Yes.
Commissioner Keener,
God, I'm struggling with this one. And I don't usually hold up. I don't. I know my grandma was. My grandma would say yes, so I'm going to say yeah.
Commissioner German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman, Commissioner Cochin,
No.
Vice Mayor St. Clair,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
No.
Motion passes.
This event will be here forever. Thank you. Approved. All right. So we're going to public comment. Or any other business. Nurse. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. On the other business, I'd just like to share something. And over the years, you know, I would always, especially in February, do something pertaining to Black history. And it's not the month of February, but history is about to be made. As one of the candidates that was elected to the National Democratic Party, I have the honor to represent the 3rd Congressional District as a district delegate to support the nominee for candidate, the first, no, not the second Black woman who will be nominated for President of the United States, and that's Miss Kamala Harris. Back in '72, I was 10 years old. It was Shirley Chisholm. I did do a tribute to her, and I'm just excited to be part of this history. There'll be other former presidents there. Also, I don't tell people who to vote for, but I encourage you to let your voice be heard and get out to vote. I've advocated for this process ever since I was old enough to vote, and probably younger. So this is going to happen and take place in Chicago, August 19th through the 22nd. So again, I represent the 3rd Congressional District and for the state of Michigan. So it's an honor. So I just wanted to share that with the public.
Any other business, commissioners? Commissioner Keener.
I just would like to publicly thank and acknowledge Commission, our mayor, and our city planner. I've been absent for almost 2 months, lots and lots of family trauma. Really want to thank our police department who played a huge role in one of those traumas, and just wanted to let my constituents know that I have just been absent, but I'm still present. My phone number is still available. You can still email me, and I am back on the ball now. But just again, thank you all for your calls, your kind wishes, especially for my constituents. That meant so much to me, literally so much to me. But I just wanted to let you all know where I was at. I'm still here. I've not gone nowhere, even though I threatened to. I'm still here.
Thank you, and we're happy to have you here, Commissioner Keener. Anything else for any other business? All right, Matt. Yes, Commissioner Kojin?
Let's see if this flies. We'll see. So the other day, a constituent reached out to me in regards to a public safety issue, and I just wanted to thank them and the city manager for being very expedient in taking care of the issue. So thank you.
Had to do with driving on paths.
Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah, no,
No
yeah,
parking.
that's fine. Yep.
No driving.
Yeah.
All right. Where did it go? Wanted to share. Where is that document? There we go. Wanted to share that this Saturday, August 17th at 1 p.m. at the Muskegon Farmers Market, we're going to have a celebration of 100 years for Golden Heart Fruit Farm, as well as 10-year celebration of our farmers market in its current location. So the public is encouraged and welcomed to come out and celebrate Golden Heart Fruit Farm's 100 years of vending at our farmers markets in Muskegon. So, all right. With that said, we're going to go to public comment. Anyone else wish to give public comment? Yes. If you care to introduce yourself, please. And you have 3 minutes to provide your remarks.
John Rooks, I'll be brief. The only final comment regarding what happened tonight was thank you very much. This sets us in motion to finalize and finish a demo contract throughout the rest of this week so we can start demolition, selective interior demolition, all the walls and all the abatement of asbestos and lead paint in the first 2 buildings starting on the 26th of August. So there will be a lot of activity and we're pretty excited. So we're excited to get started. Thanks for your confidence.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else in the audience wish to give public comment at this time? All right, we're going to go to the phones. Phone and call-in number is 231-724-6721. This is general public comment. You can call in and share anything you wish. This is not a Q&A time. It is an opportunity for you to give your input to the city commission. You have 3 minutes to provide your remarks. Again, that phone number is 231-724-6721. All right, we don't have any takers for phone-in comments. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, motion by Commissioner Kilgo, supported by Commissioner Koshin to adjourn. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you. Take care and be well.